70 million years ago, Earth faced a major crisis. As a result, there was a change in management. The rulers of the Earth, the dinosaurs, died out. Their bodies could not adapt to the changing climate and their brains were too small. The dinosaurs were over-specialized. They were so well adapted to their ecological niche that they could not adapt when the world changed. Today, many large, powerful companies are facing similar problems. They have great difficulties adapting to a changing world. Unlike the dinosaurs, companies have a way out. They can change their corporate DNA, the underlying worldview that governs their structure and behavior. And those who can't, the dinosaurs of the business world, are on a path to extinction. The underlying ideas about how the world works is also called a paradigm. The paradigm is a kind of thinking box, a frame for our thoughts. What's inside the thinking box, we find it easy to think and talk about. What's outside the box may be extremely difficult to understand. We don't have anything to relate the concepts to. We may not even have the words necessary to think or discuss a paradigm we are not familiar with. When we try, misunderstandings are bound to happen. Consider how difficult it would be to explain democracy to a medieval feudal lord. This kind of difficulties has delayed the introduction of important management innovations for generations. For example, lean manufacturing was invented in the 1950s. Most companies who have tried it go through the motions but fail to understand why they are doing things. The whole thing turns into cargo cult management and fails. The last decade, agile software development has run into the same problem. Many companies try to implement agile. The implementations fail because managers do not realize that their own worldview must change too. Consider the problems corporations were facing 100 years ago. There was a huge demand for products. Skilled laborers were scarce, but there was an endless supply of unskilled day laborers. And many day laborers, in the United States at least, were immigrants with poor English skills. There was a man who solved the manufacturing problems of his time. The man who created the corporate DNA of nearly every business organization in the Western world. Frederick Winslow Taylor. Taylor created the paradigm, the mindset of nearly every manager today, from CEOs to project managers. He also reshaped the minds of workers, replacing craftsmanship and pride in personal skill with obedience to authority. Taylor wrote a famous book about his ideas, The Principles of Scientific Management. Now, if you read it, you will recognize the text. It describes your company. Taylor made his opinions about workers very clear. He's so stupid that the word percentage has no meaning to him, and he must consequently be trained by a man more intelligent than himself into the habit of working in accordance with the laws of this science before he can be successful. Now, let's take a closer look at what Taylor and his contemporaries did. In response to the huge market demand, companies had to grow large. Taylor believed strict control was necessary to run such companies. It's only through enforced standardization of methods, enforced adoption of the best implements and working conditions, and enforced cooperation that this faster work can be assured. And the duty of enforcing the adoption of standards and enforcing this cooperation rests with management alone. The solution was to institute hierarchical management structures and very tight command control systems. The scientific management command and control systems are essentially one way. Management is in control, workers are under control, and management tells workers what to do, how to do it, and what performance measures to report. Companies did of course want workers to be as cost-effective as possible. That is, they wanted worker utilization to be as close to 100% as possible in order to use the workers effectively. Now this was accomplished by pooling workers of the same type in departments, what we refer to as a functional organization. Producing something requires a sequence of steps, and someone had to be in charge of that sequence. Thus, each worker got at least 2 managers, one functional manager, that is the department manager, and one product or project manager. In its modern form, this is called matrix management. In order to utilize workers fully, each worker is often assigned to several different projects. Thus, a worker may have many different managers. This is multitasking, and it's prevalent in most workplaces today. The problems scientific management was created to solve don't exist anymore. Most companies can produce more than they can sell. Workers are well educated, and most workers are long-term employees. Even subcontractors work for a fairly long time at the company because project lead times are long. And of course, people are a lot smarter than Taylor gave them credit for. They always were. The problem 100 years ago was lack of education, not lack of smarts. On the other hand, many of the problems today were caused by scientific management. Mass production has glutted the markets, over-specialization, multitasking and push scheduling increases work in process, which increases lead times, which increases cost and reduces revenue. Scientific management failed utterly to take anything but the physiological human needs into account, and this created a host of problems. Loss of control has caused loss of pride in work, which leads to reduced quality and increased personnel turnover. Reduced quality blunts the competitive edge. Defects are expensive. When workers are knowledge workers, personnel turnover can be extremely costly. The rigid control structures also had consequences. Managers were isolated from the problems in the rest of the organization. It became very difficult for a manager to be aware of what is really going on in the company. Striving for local optimization creates competition between departments, and this makes it difficult to cooperate effectively. Maybe worst of all, scientific management is a closed system. If an answer cannot be found within the scientific management thinking box, scientific management says there is no answer at all. Most people, both managers and employees, believe it so thoroughly they never even consider searching for alternatives. There are many more problems that companies must face today, but most have 2 things in common. They are, at least partially, caused by the scientific management paradigm, and scientific management has no way to fix the problem. From a scientific management point of view, the problems are unsolvable. Now, what if there were other points of view? Would some of our unsolvable problems become solvable then? Maybe dinosaur thinking is too constrained. Maybe if we could look outside the scientific management box, we would have the power to solve the problems of today. Now, I'm not going to tell you to think outside the box. We know that's very difficult. Most of us have experienced an occasional flash of insight at one time or another, but that's it. Such flashes are few and far between, and it's difficult to make them appear on command. Now I'm proposing something a lot simpler. Continue to think inside the box, but use a different box. Use a box that contains ready-made, or at least prefabricated solutions to the problems you are facing today. Even better, if you know about several thinking boxes, you can select the right box for just about any problem you are facing. You can also combine solutions from different boxes. And this is what the Agile Business series of webcasts is about. It's about rejecting the path of the dinosaur and finding a better way. The next time I'll show you how to use different thinking boxes to create a great number of options where dinosaur thinking leaves you with only one. I will show you how to use paradigm shifting to improve your company's bottom line in a time of crisis. be seeing you.